Hi there, Malcolm here with my 214th Booktube video, and today I'll be bringing you my wrap-up for December 2024. Yes, I'm filming this at the end of January, but at least I'm filming it. And I've got a whole bunch of editing to do as well, but never mind my woes. The numbers. So in the month of December I finished 12 titles, totaling 1,902 pages and 27.63 hours. I've certainly slowed up towards the end of the year, meaning that I am technically 1,882 pages down on the previous year, but in 2023 I did count the audibles I listened to as the pages I would have read, whereas in 2024 I only counted them as the hours. So if I did count them as pages, I would be 7,559 pages up on 2023, and with 166 books completed in 2024, which is my all-time highest, I think I did pretty well. With the new year, I'm going to try a new format. I'm only going to do wrap-up videos for the months now rather than a TBR, because basically if I am successful with the TBR, then I generally end up reading stuff that I don't initially say I'm going to read, and if I'm unsuccessful, then I end up having to do pretty much the same TBR in subsequent months, waving the same books about time and time again until I finally get the damn thing read. I'm also going to try to do a few more individual reviews of books in separate videos. Certainly those are the ones that do slightly better than the others. And if it suddenly turns out that they're making the book I reviewed into a film, then hey, the views just go up a bit. Certainly Mickey 7, a book I reviewed a couple of years ago, before I even knew the film was being made, suddenly that is now getting some interest due to a certain film coming out this year. And my review for Bullet Train has done very well for itself. So, going to get more shorter videos, I hope, although my waffling on now is not going to help with this one. I'm not going to do every single book. I'll pick out which ones I think are worth doing. Anyway, I have 12 books to get through, so let's get cracking. First up is Ant-Man Astonishing Origins. This is a collection of two main stories featuring the origins of both of the main Ant-Mans. So Hank Pym as he creates his suit and is betrayed by his employer, and Scott Lang as he steals the suit and takes on the mantle of Ant-Man. Yeah, they were really good. Nicely illustrated. They both had a very different feel. The first Ant-Man one had Hank Pym was a lot more scientific, straight talking and dealing with problems as they arise, whereas Scott Lang was a lot more happy-go-lucky and generally entertaining. But they're both really good in their own different ways. Yeah, a solid Ant-Man collection here. Ideal for those who enjoyed the films. And they don't really add anything to what we don't already know from the MCU, but yeah, I would say they're worth buying. And then I finished Pandora's Star. This is book one of the Commonwealth Saga by Peter F. Hamilton. I listened to this on Audible, read to me by John Lee. And this 40-hour monster is set place in a far distant future where humankind has colonised the stars, met some alien species. There is a Commonwealth. We don't really mix with the aliens. They kind of stick to themselves. There's a bit of trade, but they're there. And we've got there through wormhole technology. There's a great start at the beginning where we have the first manned mission to Mars. Our hero climbs down the ladder, sets foot on Mars, has his speech ready, and looks up to see a dude waving at him through a wormhole set back on Earth, laughing at him. And so man has reached the stars. And one night, an astronomer notices two stars winking out suddenly. Now, obviously, taking into account how far away they are, the event that happened was X thousand years ago, but still, something significant happens to literally make two stars no longer be visible. And so an exploration is sent to go and investigate what's happened. Also a ship that flies through space. It's too far for wormhole. And as the title of the book suggests, Pandora's Star, they unleash something once they get there that can't be put back in the bottle, causing a lot of chaos for the Commonwealth. Now, it's the second Peter F. Hamilton storyline I've read. The first one was the Night's Dawn trilogy, which in a very similar sort of theme of a thing being unleashed, causing chaos across all the planets. But where that similarity ends, everything else is very different. And I'm really impressed with the fact that all the technology, the aliens, the society is all completely different to the Night's Dawn trilogy. And I think he did a really good job creating a completely separate universe, as it were. You know, I'm very happy to have multiple stories set in the same universe, even if they're set on different planets with different characters, doing a different thing, even different timelines. Hence my Star Wars collection there. But it's also really refreshing to have a completely new tale told in a completely new setting with no crossover whatsoever from the previous arena. Oh yeah, absolutely loved it. I perhaps thought it was a little bit too long. 40 hours is a lot of time commitment to get through. a physical book would be about 1,000 pages long. I do have book 2 and it is about 1,100 pages, which is why I chose to listen to that on Audible as well. And my main bugbear was the side quest that's going on while all the things are going on in the Commonwealth. Decides to go walking in the outback, or walking the Sylvan Path. The Sylvans are an alien species, quite advanced. They sort of resemble elves in a way. And they've created a technology or something that means if you can go walking in a certain woods, you'll end up on a certain woods on a different planet entirely. And if you keep walking, you just walk across several planets. And Ozzy's doing this to try and find out who is responsible for causing these 2 stars to have turned off in the first place and why. However, it's very much a journey that doesn't seem to have any direction or relevance to the main storyline at all. Oh, it's very enjoyable. It's at no point when we jump back to them I thought, oh, for goodness sakes, back here again. But I was wondering for the longest time, why are we even having this storyline? What's the point of it? And with Pandora's Star only being book 1 of the duology, I was pretty certain I wasn't going to find out in these 40 hours. I'd have to wait another 40 hours-ish to find out just what the point of all this was. Right, so the characters are likeable and the adventure was interesting. It's just I didn't see the relevance. But yeah, really good, booktastic. Bring on book 2. And then I read Who is Miles Morales? This is another library book, and apparently book 2 in this particular series, I think Ultimate Spider-Man. These are Ultimate Comics Spider-Man. And at the beginning, Peter Parker dies, and newly powered Miles Morales chooses to take on the Spider-Man mantle. And again, it's another origin story, and very much the inspiration for a lot of the content in Miles Morales Into the Spider-Verse, that brilliant animated movie, as well as Spider-Man Freshman Year. So a lot of the content in this did make its way into the 2 films. Miles' unintentional stickiness to various surfaces and things, and a certain friend who's building a Lego model being surprised and then dropping his Lego model all over the floor. I mean, scene for scene. Okay, in this book I think it's the Lego pirate ship as opposed to the Death Star. But yeah, you can see a lot of what inspired the 2 films in this tome. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Because I did know the 2 films, a lot of the beats were kind of the same in a lot of ways. It did do its own storyline, but there were certain similarities, particularly around Prowler and all that. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, a solid story, booktastic. And after that, I then finished listening to The Dispatcher by John Scalzi. Yeah, I still had a few days before my Audible credit turned up, so I had to find something free on Audible to listen to in the meantime. This was sort of 2 to 4 hours long, by John Scalzi, a new favourite of mine, so I thought give it a go. Read by Zachary Quinto. I've done an individual video on all 3 of these books, which will come up in this video, so I'll leave a link to my thoughts on the 3 books down below. Do go check it out. I highly recommend this series though. And after that, I then actually finished my book of the month, which was Marvel What If Mark Spector Was Host to Venom by Mike Chen. It's the 3rd book in the Marvel What If series. Really enjoyed the first 2. Absolutely looking forward to have read this one, and I'm really pleased to have read this one. I have done an individual video on this, so I'll leave a link to that below. You're going to know what I thought of that. And after that, I then moved on to The Dispatcher Book 2, Murder by Other Means. Yep, go check out the other video for that. Another investigation, great stuff. And after that, I then read Primeval Extinction Event by Dan Abnett. I've been rereading the 4 Primeval books. Have no recollection of what happened in any of them the first time round, and the first 2 I did find rather underwhelming, so I went into this one with fairly low expectations. However, Dan Abnett did a really good job with this one. It generally felt like a Primeval episode. Basically, the gang are kidnapped and taken to Siberia, where there's been an anomaly going on for quite some time, and they got to deal with the internal politicking of the various Russian factions, as they don't believe in that sort of nonsense. They think they just found some sort of lost world that time forgot. But when the anomaly is finally discovered, great big flaming rock in the sky that's going to cause global catastrophe when it smacks, and it looks like it's going to hit right where the anomaly is, meaning that we're looking at a world-ending catastrophe in 2 timelines. The problem is we happen to be living in one of them. Yeah, really exciting stuff, great use of the characters, worth buying. And after that, I then finished listening to Travel by Bullet, which is the 3rd book of the Dispatcher series. Again, go check out the video. I then read Harlequin, Black, White and Redder. I also got this from the library. In those 3 colours, they tell a number of stories of the Harlequin by various different authors, various different illustrators, and yeah, this was a really enjoyable series of stories. They're all really short, about 4 or 5 pages each, as she goes through the various adventures. And we have all sorts of iterations of Harley in this. We have the original animated Batman series Harley. We have the Margot Robbie Suicide Squad Harley. We have the Harley from the Arkham game trilogy, and every other variation you can think of. Indeed, there's even one story that does address the fact that there does seem to be so many different versions of Harley, and that's quite a really good one, because it really does explore who is Harley, what is she, as a character, where is she going, as a person, where is she going, who is she, what is her goal. And for quite a short tale, that was really quite deep. And the fact that she's doing all this self-analysis while being chased down the street by a giant dodo just makes it even better. I highly recommend this one. Booktastic. Next up, I then finished reading Marvel Zombies Supreme. I managed to pick this one up from my local comic book shop. Last month I read Marvel Zombies Black, White and Blood, which is the first Marvel Zombies I'd ever read. I quite enjoyed it. Thought I'll give this one a go. And this is very much sort of a base under siege with zombies in it and our heroes. Except the zombies happen to be a collection of heroes from an alternative universe or something. I don't know anything about the Supreme lot. This is my one complaint, although it's more my fault really than the book's fault, is I didn't know who any of these guys were. You know, we've got Hyperion, Golden Archer, Lady Lark, The Shape, Nighthawk, Power Princess and Blue Eagle, and Amphibian. Oh, and Whizzer. No idea. These are the zombie versions of them, and they seem to have retained their intelligences and their personalities and their abilities, but they also have an insatiable hunger for living tissue. Not just brains, just the whole lot. Quite a solid zombie story. Quite nicely illustrated. Had to try and find a non-gruesome page, of which there aren't many. Although having said that, I wouldn't say this was overly grim. You know, it's not literally blood on every page, but I thought it was really good. Worth buying. Glad I did. And after that, I then read Damn Your Entropy 1001 of the Greatest Science Fiction Quotes, edited by Guy P. Harrison. And this is literally a book of 1001 science fiction quotes from movies, TV, comics, books, games. I have done an individual video on this one, so I'll leave a link to that one below. Go check that one out. Quite an intriguing read. After that, I then read Marl Fox by Brian Jacks. This is book 11 of the Redwall series, and it's set quite a long time down the road now. Redwall itself is getting a bit tired. It's a period of quiet. The adults are generally quite elderly now, and there's a great split between the very old and the very young. There's not many sort of able-bodied in-between characters, which is a shame because Marl foxes have turned up. They're sort of almost mythical, legendary in their status. Now, foxes at the best of times can't be trusted in these books, and these ones are certainly the worst of those. And they've got their eyes on taking a prize from Redwall, which they then do, and so we then have a dual story where we have the continual siege of Redwall and 4 friends who depart to go to the Marl Fox's castle to retrieve the stolen stuff. And as I said, the last few times I've waved a Redwall book at the camera, they have got a little bit samey, but they're still really enjoyable. The adventures are different enough to still feel fresh, and the shenanigans at Redwall or wherever still have a different format, different things to try, different things happen. More of the same, but different, worth buying. So there we go. I think it was a successful end of the year. But I didn't read many books that I wanted to have read. I think many of the books I waved at the camera saying, I'm going to read these in December, I didn't read. I didn't read Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Sins of the Father, I didn't read Halo, Silent Storm, and I didn't read Predator Stalking Grounds. So that was a bit of a disappointment. 6 books I wanted to read, only managed 3 of them. But I did say at the time, Redwall books do take a lot of reading. They're quite dense text. You think, oh, it's a nice fluffy story about fluffy animals. I can whiz through that in no time, and you find it enjoyable, but a bit of a trudge. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. Hope you had a good December, or even January now, because like I say, I'm filming this at the end of January. Feel free to talk about the books I've waved at you, or books that you've read that enjoyed in these months. As usual, if you're nothing nice to say, then please keep it to yourself. Thank you. Like, subscribe, bloody blah with the YouTubey stuff, or not. And until next time, see you later.